Anybody's welcome to come in. Hey, Dolly. Dolly, come here. No. Come up here. Get up here. Come here. Rigsby. Yeah, so I didn't really have anything I wanted to write about this morning on the Substack. And I woke up with ennui. Come here, bud. Come here. Good boy. Stress, you know. Lay down. Lay down. And one of the things that was on my mind that is like a Jesus quote. I don't know. I think it's in Luke. It's about like when he's in Nazareth and he can't do anything there because of their unfaith or lack of faith. Jesus talks about how he can. Okay. The links, I think the link is there. Let's see. Matthew 13. All right. 13:57. And they took offense at him, but Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home." And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. But then, so that there's one reading. And then I thought there was another one where it was more explicitly that he says he couldn't do anything there. So yeah, 13:58. There must be. It's kind of obscene. When you go to like you go to a Bible website and then there's like pop-up ads everywhere. See, Jesus can do no miracles in Nazareth. Matthew. Okay, yeah. Okay, so could not versus did not. Well, Mark 6:5 states he could not perform miracles. Matthew 58 explains he did not do many miracles, indicating a restriction based on the lack of faith rather than the total loss of power. All right, so Mark 6:5. Mark 6:5. Let's look at that. Mark 6:5. Yeah. Okay. Yes. He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. No, stop. Mark 6. Read full chapter. Why not? Prophet without honor. Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. "Where did this man get these things?" they asked. "What's this wisdom that that's been given him? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters here with us?" Oh, he had sisters? I didn't know that. And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home." He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Yeah, that part is interesting to me because it also kind of reminds me of like in the We Flew book by Carlos Ayer. It talks about these saints, these um, nuns and stuff who were like levitating and flying. And there's a section in that book where it talks about kind of like that was happening in an era that was like it was it was seen as possible, or yeah, not only possible but like maybe likely that somebody would or could hover or levitate or something. Dolly, come lay down. And so I think about that in relation to all sorts of things that could happen or might happen or should or shouldn't happen. Good girl. Come on. Yeah, come on. Come on. Come on. Anyways, Dolly's she's got a mind of her own. Say hi to the people. Come on. Come. Shy? Okay. Anyways, I think about that and what is the participatory role of that each of us play in the unfolding of reality. And in the way that powers and principalities um, plays people like chess pieces in their cosmic game. And kind of like, what is the power of a resentment? What are the powers of just generally speaking? What are the powers that people have? There is if anybody wants to come in, you are welcome to do so. I don't even know if you can hear me. There, blink again. I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, that's on my mind, and um, that and communication, expectations, and the everywhere between like expectations between people that are in your immediate location, like in your home or at your work or whatever, and then people, let's say, that you are in communication with online closely, and then the crowd, the people that you will never meet, but like are a character nonetheless. They seem to be a character in your life. They're like, society people, like news stories, almost like are almost like characters in themselves. Yeah, that'd be cool, Chris. And yeah. And maybe there's like I'm thinking about all that, and then kind of the responsibility of your attention landscape. So if Jesus couldn't do miracles in his hometown because of how people knew him, and that combined with their unbelief, like, what does our collective attention do? Oh, Chris, add to stage. Welcome.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am well. I'm really good. It's nice to see you on this morning.
Yeah, likewise.
I was putting on my shirt and trying to look presentable, so you were still talking a little bit, but the part I heard before that was about our role in the faith. I'm not saying it right. You're talking about where Jesus couldn't do something because of the lack of faith, or like it's an ingredient or something.
Yes.
That had me think of something kind of a little slightly different corner from that, in that there are like situations where people do something that I think this is a physical thing that's really amazing. I think of like these guys that karate chop like big piles of bricks or something, where it's like, I do not have the faith that I could even approach that. I'm really convinced that if I did that, it would break my hand. I think it's just like not possible. And then you read about, like some mother will pick up a car when her child is in danger or something. The flying one is kind of a reach for me. I hear PVK talk about reading the book, and I don't disbelieve it. Like, I wouldn't say, that can't happen, but I'm kind of like floating in between, it's like, not going to happen to me. Probably not, never. It's definitely not today. So yeah, lacking faith in that regard. So if somebody can reproduce it, like the karate chop guy, then I'm pretty convinced that it's like innate in him. It might have taken training or some kind of work up to it, but it's like he could do that, and then after that he could do that. The lady who lifts up her car, she probably can't just summon that up on demand. So is that in her, or was that provided to her in that emergency? Well, I don't really know. It might have been provided to her, or it might have been innate in her, or it might have been a special occasion of some sort. Um, and then the flying guys, I remember PVK were talking about reading the book, and that they didn't even they couldn't even control it. So it really wasn't, if it was in them, they didn't know how to access it. And so it was almost like done to them. So that's a whole bunch of different range of roles. I mean, the karate guy can make it happen. The mom lifting the car, probably not. And the guy floating around in the room, he says he definitely doesn't know how it's happening.
Not only does he say that, he also says he's uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's right. I
And
forgot that.
there's like this, and it's not only him, but like almost all the accounts of this happening to the different various people. It was like a mixture of elation.
Scared to death,
Yeah,
If I started floating around like an astronaut, I would be like, no, this is not a good idea, because what happens if I'm bouncing against the ceiling and all of a sudden it turns off? I'm going to go splat against the floor. That would be very uncomfortable.
right. It would be like for them, it was like a mix of, they described it as a type of ecstasy, as well as a type of, yeah, it's like this unwieldy force that was terrifying, but also a mixture of like ecstasy. Like, so it was phenomenologically, it was like, yeah, unlike anything else. So that's it.
Yeah, you wonder if the ecstasy was part of the I'm going to say performance, but I don't want to mean performance like an act, part of the event, or if the ecstasy was like a side product of the event.
Yeah,
I know it's possible to have something happen and then you get like this emotional state, and then you try to recreate the emotional state kind of in the hopes that the thing will happen again. I don't know, this condition doesn't really sound like that, like they were happy and jumping into the air and then but no, that doesn't sound like what they were doing.
Well, it's interesting because, like, even thinking about, so here's something that I think is unlikely that could happen, but is happening all the time. And I think we make these lofty attempts at explaining it, but we still really don't get it. And that is speech. But we have tremendous faith that we can do it, and we do it all the time and in various ways. Sometimes even our speech through things like story or song can bring this same kind of feeling of elation or terror. So like the flight would. And so, yeah, it's.
Well, there's that guy on YouTube who has all these videos about how he goes into a place and talks Mandarin Chinese to people that he doesn't look Chinese. And that's kind of, I don't know any other languages, so that's kind of miraculous to me that you could even just make noises and these other people would start smiling. It's like, okay, so yeah, it's apparent, but that's kind of like the karate chop guy. I think, well, yeah, I could probably work myself up to that, but it would be a lot of work, and I'm not 100% sure I can get there from here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there's like music, like people will share their music.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're astonished at, I don't even think sometimes there's like this ineffability to it, because maybe it's just like, some kind of seemingly average guitar playing, seemingly average vocalizing, and then that combined with the story that's being told, and bang, it's like you're hit by lightning. It feels incredible to hear the story, and it connects with you. And so like all that is just it's like the most woo thing there is this ability to connect with somebody. And yeah, I think it's like like we just it's a kind of like a given. And so I think my concern is, or my, the underlying thought between all of this is the way that powers and principalities move people. And again, like I was saying earlier, how we're kind of pawns in their chess game, a game that we don't even understand, this great cosmic game that we're caught up in and we're moved around by. And, if you're like me, I can be easily manipulated by, the actions of others. Just press the resentment button and it gets me going, or, and those are kind of like the easy buttons to press. And, yeah, and like I don't understand the motivations and things like that. And
So the like songwriting, is that a karate chop skill kind of thing that people can produce, or is it kind of in between, like the mother lifting the car, where they can kind of produce parts of it, but somehow it goes farther than they were expecting? Or is it like the guys floating around in the room and they have no idea?
well, I think it's a little bit of all of it, because if somebody had the power to capture the hearts and minds of people at the snap of a finger, or just a willful combination of guitar strokes and words, then they would just do that all the time, wouldn't they? They would just pick, every time they pick up the guitar, they would just, and then produce something brand new every time, and perform these miracles upon people's consciousness. But I don't think it's like
That would
that.
be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is dangerous. I think music is dangerous, but it's as anything that I think is truly beautiful has this potential danger to it that is, so like the idea of the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. It's like that to me is kind of at the root of it, like that one ought to approach their talents with respect, potential fear, because maybe we don't know, maybe I don't know all of the different kinds of levers that I have, spiritual levers that are in the universe,
Yeah. The other thought that I had when you were talking about this is a bit of a different branch, but you were talking about the prophet not getting respect in his own home. I was sitting by someone, and I was probably 12 years old or something like that, 15, I don't remember. Youthful. I was youthful once. And I was watching my dad do something, and this man, we were sitting and watching him, and we couldn't help him, but we were able to see what he was doing. And this man made a comment. It's like, wow, he must be really strong that he's able to do this thing he was doing. And my first thought was just kind of like, yeah, he's just my dad, Well, I must have been a teenager, because that's definitely a teenager kind of attitude. Yeah, he's just my dad. When Jesus said that the prophet's doesn't get the respect, in his own home, some of it is because this familiarity, right? We're not expecting, or we don't see it in relation, or I don't know, but I definitely remember that feeling. It was like, yeah, that's just my dad. Which the other man was like really amazed. How is he doing that? I don't think it was miraculous. He didn't heal anybody or anything like that, but I guess I wasn't appropriately impressed, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because of the familiarity, because, I was with him, and I knew he snored on camping trips, and, it was like, yeah, it was just like, that's who he is. And he's able to do things. And I didn't even know exactly how impressive it was supposed to be. I don't know how much of a role that is in Jesus' life because he was such an impressive person. You would think that maybe that would just overwhelm everything around him, but somehow he was able to um, keep himself from being overwhelming to the people he lived with, which was probably necessary to a certain degree. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with all of that, but there's the familiarity that kind of wears down. So if you lived with Willie Nelson or something and you were kind of expecting, oh yeah, he wrote another song, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I don't know if you were, I think maybe I was freezing over here, so I couldn't, my video or whatever was freezing up. But yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, why? Yeah, because it says not that he wouldn't do it, but that he couldn't do it. So what was he doing when he was a kid? What was he doing in the town of Nazareth?
Yeah.
And
He must have somehow had this ability, or well, it does talk about how it wasn't his time to do things, and so there's definitely kind of a start, and leading up to that, that's not, yeah. But then they were also amazed in the story too. So something had changed if they knew who he was, and all of a sudden they were really impressed with the way he was talking. I think that means that he was talking in a way that he hadn't talked before.
yeah, well, I think didn't he basically claimed to be the son of God, which really pissed him off. Isn't that
Yeah.
like around the time where they're about to like throw him off the cliff or something?
Yeah, I think that was either a similar time or right about the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he calls himself a prophet too. In that little snippet, he equates himself with the prophet. So
Yeah.
yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking about like, there's a lot on my mind about this stuff, obviously current events, and then just kind of like the lethargy I have about current events. It's like the predictability of the algorithm. I was talking with somebody last night about stuff, and we were talking about his parent or his in-laws or his mom or whatever, who's like 75 or something, has gotten like captured by the algorithm. So okay, how do I put this? Folks that I've heard a lot about people in their 70s who it's like finally their smartphone has caught up with them, right? And
I don't know what you mean by that expression.
well, let's say they didn't really pay much attention to the technology, let's say 5 to 10 years ago. Maybe they didn't take it very seriously. Maybe it was more of a burden than it was anything. And then all of a sudden they caught up with the technology itself, and in doing that, the algorithms caught them. And so they're still kind of in a mode of like your 3 legacy media outlets that kind of like captured that kind of that type of a net. So that's a particular kind of mode that they're used to.
Right.
And now the algorithm is giving them everything, so it's very concentrated. And then but the difference I think between that generation and let's say maybe the Gen Xers, Gen Zs, and the millennials is the Gen Zs and millennials kind of have like this I don't know, this reluctance to, some of them have a reluctance to talk about the things that are in their algorithms with other people. So they're kind of more private about what, because they know it can be contentious. Perhaps maybe they're self um, censoring. So they'll watch this stuff, whatever. Maybe they'll watch the news or whatever it is, but they don't really talk about it with people at work because the potential chaos that's there. But then this other generation, they want to talk about it, but that's all they want to talk about. And so, like, yeah, I don't know. It's a thought that I have. It's not obviously scientific or any kind of like.
Are you talking about the? I got a little bit lost at the beginning where you're talking about older folks. Are you talking about someone in their consumption of the churn, or are you talking about someone in being like caught up in the churn, being part of the news?
Well, yeah. So like, well, first of all, like, so they're about 70, anywhere between 70 and 80 years old, and they can't discern exactly what is real and what is not real.
Yeah,
that's one of the things. And the other thing,
that's going to get worse. So
yeah, and the other thing is, have you seen this? We should talk about this, and then that's all they want to. And then you're like, and it becomes like they don't want to talk about like, what's happening in the lives on the ground. It's like this is all they want. They want to talk about what their algorithm is feeding them. That's
okay.
Yeah. So they're captured by it. Whereas I think some of the younger generations are like, yeah, I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sick of reading about it. Let's maybe do something else or whatever, or we don't talk at all.
Yeah.
I know that's not really a problem around here because people are always talking about the stuff on it. but not on the job site.
Right.
We're happy to do it on here.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things too. If it has to do with like sophistication, then there's going to be that whole range of levels of sophistication with technology and information all the time. I mean, you'll have people coming up that are young that run into that, people who are old haven't experienced it. I suppose someone who, I don't know, they find him in a jungle someplace and hand him a cell phone, he's going to have some similar, because of inexperience or innocence of what it can mean or what it can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so like, that's the other thing. It's like there are different degrees of what is valuable to talk about, right? Like, or to, so as it relates to current events, chaotic events, news events, like, I think I'd approach them differently than I would have even 2 years ago, because now that I have a child, like, I don't really, it's interesting. You would think that I would be more worried about the worldly events and I would think about them more and talk about them more. But I actually don't, because like my attention is already captured by what's happening in our home here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. You have to focus on it.
Yeah. And yeah. And then, so like, what do where do you allocate your attention? And maybe that's not the right word.
Well, it's a resource. Yeah, it's a resource. Limited amount of it. What are you going to do with it? Just like money or anything else. Which kind of amazing that we've come to that point where attention is kind of a resource like that. It seemed like, well, and I don't know, my imagination of the past is that people would sit on their porch and let their mind wander and not have enough to do, and now we're totally swamped with too many things to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you read old, yeah, you'd think like when I kind of imagine or try to imagine the on the ground landscape, which was basically at the time all there was, you know, back in early 1900, late 1800s. So yeah, there was no. I mean, if there was a news cycle, it wasn't getting to everybody. Um, yeah, people's hands were full with uh, tasks that they had to perform. They didn't have electricity. They didn't, like that's such a bizarre thing. Imagine living in
Yeah.
a world. This is almost like when I try to really think about this. It's impossible. It's impossible to imagine living in a world that's never been touched by electricity. It's impossible. I know we could try to like run some thought experiments, but the problem is you have seen it. So it's already polluted it's already influenced your
Yeah.
landscape of potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Now you can recreate it a little bit, and we enjoy that. Somebody will go camping, get a tent or even just a
yeah,
blanket and go out in the woods and live for a couple days and maybe longer than that. And we actually kind of can find that refreshing to kind of
yeah,
go back to where you have to think about how you're going to like start a fire or something rather that's supposed to be rather simple, although most people don't know how to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still a different experience than one where you've never can even
Yeah.
conceive of such a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you go camping and it starts to rain and your kids say, "Let's go home."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
if like let's say the grid was completely wiped out in a moment, even then it would be a different experience because then it would be an experience of probably longing and thinking about the thing that we once had called electricity. And
Right.
so you could still have it, you still have it in your mind's eye about like, wow, remember that thing that we had that was abundant and convenient and useful and basically a miracle that we just pissed on because it was just always around, like these are like there's a complete lack of there can be I think people, and maybe that's kind of like the Jesus in Nazareth thing. There's like a lack of gratitude because he was just always there, and so they didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm
That
mixing
makes sense to
up
me.
metaphors, but yeah,
Not appreciating. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. The the luxury, kind of like the ability to stand on grievances in a world that is just abundant with resources. It's like something about it is like like ridiculously offensive. Um, because I think if we were all slammed into a world where one day like tomorrow we wake up, or let's say at noon, it all stops, then what? Are we really going to give a shit about, you know, uh, the kinds of things that we're caught up in? Like, yeah, I don't know. I think about this stuff and it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Well, I mean, we have various like real life exercises in that where like 9/11 or something where there's a big something grabs our attention and um natural disasters. And it is, I don't know, I find it kind of comforting when people seem to do the right thing in those situations, that they'll help each other and that they'll um, provide from the resources they have. We get in our entertainment kind of helps us muse about what will happen in these situations. So you get zombie movies and other kinds of, I think you froze up. No, there you are. Imaginations about what would happen if all of a sudden our attention was completely moved away from everyday luxuries into an environment where we would have to do things differently. And where was I going with that? I find at least most of the medium-sized disasters people respond pretty well to. I don't know about really, really big disasters. You hear about like what people are going through in Ukraine or something, and I expect, or in World War II, the stories of people in dire conditions in concentration camps and things, and they say, well, different people responded in different ways. Some hoarded their food and some shared, but it was kind of down to basics like that. Or are you um, are you going to take those things that were easy in polite life and continue them because I don't know. Yeah, I'm wandering in my thought a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I have this perception, this imaginary perception of if if the worst chaotic thing could happen at noon today, like, and then the grid is wiped out and you and I can never talk again unless we're face to face because whatever, most chaotic thing you can imagine, solar flare, earthquake, blah blah, whatever the thing is, I think we would actually respond appropriately, which is like a forced unity. And I don't think, yeah, I think because resources, like, okay, so it would be so bad because none of us know how to hunt, or almost none of us know how to actually hunt and how to actually clean or like dress an animal that we've hunted. Almost none of us know how to, um, farm or or treat a wound, or almost none of us know any of this stuff at all. I mean, maybe, 1 in 10 do. And what would happen, I think we would respond appropriately, which is we would be more unified than not. But the powers and principalities know that too, I think. And so then the best
Yeah.
thing for them to do is just give us what we want and don't even know that we want, which is toilet paper and food and
Yeah.
electricity, and then throw chaos into the machine and let us fight about the the almost like meaningless shit, almost meaningless.
There's have you ever seen that War of the Worlds movie with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't remember all of the movie, but I remember one of the pivotal points in it is they're hiding in the basement. He has got his daughter, I think, little girls with him, and then they're hiding in the basement with this other guy, and the other guy like can't stay quiet or something. Is the existence of the other man is a threat to their existence, that the Martians are going to find them, and so Tom Cruise like offs this guy, hits him with a shovel. Or I don't remember how he does
Yeah.
it, but he gets rid of the guy. And the zombie movies and these various things, the the real contention, I think, to be feared is the interaction with other people and our willingness or unwillingness to be sacrificial. And I read a book when I was in middle school. We had an English teacher, and he gave us this long list of books we could read, and it's called The Earth Abides, which is a early 60s science fiction book. And since it's fiction, he could make up his own world. And in his world, most of the people die. And so there's not a lot of this interaction, fighting over resources kind of stuff like you see in the zombie movies or the Martian Attack movie. And in that movie, or in that book, he gets around the resource because there's not a lot of people to fight over it. So they basically eat out of the grocery stores. The few people that are left from this plague or whatever eat out of the grocery stores for a long, long time. And then the man who's like kind of the leader of the group starts introducing things like bows and arrows and things like that, and to kind of have a basis of survivability, sustainability. So that's a different scenario because there's not a lot of competition for resources. I don't know. I don't have any children. It's just my wife and I, and we're already old, so we're kind of on the disposable end of things. If our neighbors, if our ducks are given eggs and the neighbors want an egg, I could live on one egg a day for a long, long time. And yeah, they could come over here and they can all survive on eggs for a while. But that's one of the things the zombie movies do, is they not only do they have the scarcity of resources, but you have the unknown of knowing if the people that show up at your door are good people or bad people. And so that's another thing that you have to think about, how you're going to manage that. In any kind of emergency, there will be people that are selfish, and how are you going to handle their selfishness?
Yeah, I think I have a strong sense that we would react appropriately rather than more so than inappropriately. And I think of there's this book I read. It was called Symphony for the City of the Dead, which
Okay.
is a book about Stalingrad or Leningrad during World War II. So there was and I don't know how aware people are of what happened there.
Well, they were under siege for a year or something, wasn't it? It was a long, long time.
900 days of shelling.
Wow. That's a
It's
long.
like almost 3 years.
Wow.
Every day. Can you imagine that? And you're living in a city like that you can't get out of. 900 days of shelling like that. And it was bad. I mean, it was not good. And on top of that, their own government was treating them inappropriately. But there's a section in that book, and that book is astounding. It was really good. It's about this composer who I can't remember his name, Straczynski, maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, he was trying to get this piece of music out of the city, so it's this account of that plus what happened with the shelling and stuff, and I mean, it's astounding. But in that book, they talked about the people that actually survived were the people that would get up and go out and help others. That was the people who actually survived, knowing damn well that they were probably not going to make it. They assumed a particular posture, which is servant, because there were people who were selfish and and creepy, that were there was cannibalism. There's just all sorts of crazy shit that was happening. But the people that really would thrive, if you could thrive in a situation like that, were those who connected with others and became servants in that culture while it was happening. And so I don't know. I think that I think about the earthquake of 1812, 1811, 1812, and if something like that were to happen, it would be devastating. If something like that happened today, it would just be devastating in a way that we can't imagine. And yet, because it's not some outside enemy, I think it would actually pull people together, because it would be so much greater of a devastation than any of the news stories that you can imagine. And I don't want those things to happen. I don't like. So when I talk about these things, I'm not a doomer. I'm not like I don't wish for these things. I just think like it's inevitable at some point where these things will happen. And yeah, I think that the hope is that we can kind of see something it's more, I don't know, with wisdom and reserve, and I don't know. It's hard to, yeah.
There's what is it in the Lord of the Rings when King Theoden, kind of makes his big comeback, and then he's in the battle, and he has this interaction with the with one of the big dark guys, and he ends up getting killed, and he says something like, and this is in the movie, and I don't remember exactly what he says. I go to my fathers, in whose presence I will no longer be ashamed, and that's a real nugget, because even if you're not called to fight against the Nazgul, you think about these. I don't know if everybody does this, but I do. I think about these things. If this happens to me, how will I acquit myself well? And I hope I am able to do that. So I think it's worth thinking about, because especially maybe if you don't think so light on your feet, because you want to have your priorities right, and
Yeah.
if a house burns down, what am I supposed to grab? That kind of be ready for things a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Now
even,
you're talking my language.
yeah, so even then, having that pattern of thought, not to be distressing yourself, but just to kind of be prepared, I think it's a good thing.
I can't
and then-
help it. I can't
Yeah.
help but to think about those things, like the day of the Lord. Like in the Van der Kleyen explanation, which is every day it can be the day of the Lord, and it is for somebody, right? And it's like, I think my whole life I've always had kind of like this kind of looming sense of impending doom was always kind of lingering somewhere in my attention landscape. But now it's like, it's not like just some kind of like vague idea out there. Now it's like, wow, you're a father now, and like my thinking about the potential. I'm constantly worried about death, constantly, whether it's in myself or somebody in my family, and then on top of that, like, God willing, we never get a divorce. That's always on my mind. Something like that is always like the potential for something to go sideways, and the potential for something to slip through my fingers, some detail about doing the next right thing. All of this stuff is constantly on my mind. And so I don't have any time to worry about what's happening over in freaking Texas, or,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
because it's like, I just can't, like, I have to get up and I have to go to work, and I have to not lose my job, and I have to like not get in a car accident on the way there, and I have to hopefully be kind while I'm there at the job and do a good job, and then
Yeah,
try
that's
to.
true. Being in somebody's home, you have customer service things going on all the time that I'm in a cubicle somewhere, nobody cares what my attitude is. So not only do you have to make it happen, you have to make it happen nicely.
Yeah, but even if I was in your situation, I can conjure up a whole bunch of reasons why I should be afraid.
Oh,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's constantly there, and it's even more loud now. And then it's like, and then like the far off worries of like, will my daughter still find me? Will she still look at me as her this daddy that she loves when in 10 years, and in what about 30 years, and will I even make it till she's past 15 years old, and all of this stuff all the time, and the algorithm wants me to pay attention to some bullshit that I can't control. How am I supposed to pay attention to that? I'm not, and I won't, because I can't afford to, because I can't even
Yeah,
afford to give that much. The things that are involuntarily plaguing me, even those I have to actively turn away from, because I know that they're bullshit in some sense,
right.
and in some sense they aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, the manufactured part of the distress. Well, that's kind of your job in your house, is to shield to some degree the manufactured disquiet. So
Well, that was a really great discussion, Chris.
so
Thank
I
you.
would say you're doing a good job because you're doing the protection of the peace of your house. I would think that would be a good thing.
Mhm. I agree with Zepp here. A great calamity would cause us to strip away the foolish concerns and force a focus on what is crucial. There is something to that. Yeah. No, I think, yeah. Can we do without calamity? I don't. I think it's we can't. Can we do without calamity? But is really interesting.
It
It's
does help to be prepared. If you have some idea of what things you can prepare for and you do prepare, I think that would be a good thing.
yeah. Can we do without calamity? I have this idea about the. I don't even know how to characterize it, but it's like this idea of the one that is unwilling to a a character or a creature that is unwilling to suffer. It will inevitably devolve into evil. And so like the one that will, and not the kind of evil that is like um blatant evil, but like this kind of like this other kind of evil, so like somebody who will do it at all costs, prevent himself from suffering. you know it's like a shirking of responsibility. So can we do without the calamity? No. So it was a really good discussion, very, very flowery and beautiful, if I might say, just full of
I-
joy. I
And
really needed to talk about it,
if you,
though, so thank you for that.
yeah, you're welcome. And if you think that your life is in charge of someone else, in higher power, God, then you get the kind of this other layer of, like, tests can be thrown your way and things like that, that it's not meaningless. And that's, for some people, I mean, and that might be even more distressing, that someone is out to get them. But I think also it can be helpful, like in the Bible where it says, like, no temptation is taken you except such as is common to man, and
Yeah.
the things are arranged so that they will turn out well in the end. Those kinds of things can be comforting and helpful.
Well,
So
there's this book that one of the things I noticed about the characters in this particular book that I really loved, this Lonesome Dove book, was like you could find a character that you find really interesting for like almost a whole chapter, and all of a sudden they'll just be killed off. And there's something comforting about it because it's like, oh, death isn't the evil. It's a part of things. And so like I don't think that in reality I don't think that it's like, do bad happens, do good happens. I don't think that. And I think that God's wisdom is beyond my understanding, and I'm here for it. I'm also terrified of it. That's what that's the beginning of wisdom, is the fear of the Lord. It's like the fear is like I'm not the creator of the universe, and so have respect. I try to have respect for the immediate particulars, as well as my connection to the overall cosmic reality, which I can't control. And so it's have our eyes open where you are. Again, try not to be distracted by the shit that's happening and not where you're not, or you know what I mean. So
yes, I do.
yeah, because it's a poison. It is a poison, and it's an alluring poison that is really, really tasty. And that's the problem with it. You don't think we don't like that crazy chaos? Of course we like that shit. Otherwise we wouldn't keep going back to it,
No, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, we gotta get going. Well, I gotta get going.
Okay. Well,
You can launch your show. I'd like to hear you read that
I
book.
will, but we'll see. I've already inflicted myself on the world for a while. We'll see how far it goes. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me in. And
have a good one,
from where I
everybody.
stand, I think you're doing a wonderful job. As if I don't that doesn't do you any good, but try to be encouraging. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, well, you don't know about the little arguments that we have.
I
Like,
definitely don't.
what are we gonna have for dinner? Like, what's with that? And then my inability to navigate those very simple waters with grace and dignity. It's hard. That's the hard shit. That's the really hard shit. I'm
No, I understand. And that was kind of dangerous in my house. We were having conversation about the things in the news, and my wife had a very different angle on it. And I think her angle was probably more right than mine. And so I made sure and told her that, yeah, it looks like everybody's thinking along your line. But at the end of the day, I want us to be together. Yeah. And there's so many wedges, so many possible wedges. So
yeah.
Anyway, humility seems to help.
Oh God, and that's a tall order. Humility. There ain't enough of that shit going around.
No.
Imagine if we approached humility in the same way we approach chaos. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. See you later,
everybody. Bye-bye.